Black militant Robert Williams voluntarily returned from self-exile today and immediately was arrested as a fugitive.
The reality is that America is not God, America is not the end of the earth, and it doesn't matter what the Americans think. In the final analysis, the truth will come out. Well, I advocated violent self-defense because I don't think you can really have a defense against violent racists and against terrorists unless you're prepared to meet violence with violence. Monroe was a small town, typical of southern towns.
Me, my wife, gone all over town. Everywhere we go, the people would turn us down, Lord, and the bridge goes down.
My father was a railway worker, but they had a system on the railroad. But the boilermaker had to be a white man, and so they could, all the white men could have a heifer. And my father used to do all of this work. The white man was getting the money, and the white man stayed drunk about all the time. In later years, the whites in the community used to always tell me that I should be like my father, that he was a good man, and that he was a hard worker, and he never gave any trouble.
Oh, man, trouble, leave me alone. Go find you someone else to take home. I live my life down you see now. Oh, man, trouble.
I lived out in the rural area of Union County, and when they talked about Rob Williams, we were really young children, and we had mixed feelings about who this man was. Of course, I had some fear, a fear for him and for what it might do for the community, because I lived in a predominantly white community out in the country, and the men and women talked very openly about how they felt, what they thought this strange person was doing to upset the normalcy of our community.
Mr. Boss Man, tell me what I've done. How come you locked me away from the light?
The Klan tried to make a black woman dance on the street, calling it gunpoint. Otherwise, they make somewhat of a jig. It's like a puppet, you know, when you're dangling a puppet on a string. You're completely reduced then to nothing. And that's one thing that helped set that first thing off in Monroe in '57. That's what set off to God. Then we started to really getting organized and setting up and digging foxholes, and we started getting ammunition.
Rob had these guns, high-powered rifles. You know, all we had was 22s and 410 shotguns hunting, you know, and got a chance to, you know, to use the high-powered weapons and become proficient with them. And he taught us a little, what they call it, karate or self-defense things, you know. We drilled with him and trained with him.
Much of our guard was young. We had guys that were 16 years old, 15 and 16, we had some too in the 40s and 50s, but a good many of them were the very young high school students and dropouts.
We were never looking for trouble. You know, as long as you're peaceful, we're peaceful. But if you become violent, we have to become violent, you know. We weren't attacking anybody or fighting against anybody, just protecting ourselves, you know.
Had 200 armed, plus we had others who would have been on call. About 500 or 600 guns, because some people had guns who weren't directly participating, but they were on call if we needed them.
I guess he weighed
like weighed about maybe 220 for the time, but that was pretty big. And he was strong now. Rob could have handled himself now, I'm gonna tell you. You know, he could have handled himself.
Oh, Jim Crow, where you been, baby? Down Mississippi and back again. Oh, Jim Crow, don't you know it's all over now?
That Rob, he carries his gun right on his side, go right downtown, go everywhere Rob went, he carries 45 right on. Now, where he used it now, I don't know, but I guess people felt the same way like I felt. They didn't know, so they didn't bother Rob.
Threatened with death, he walked down the street wearing a pistol on his belt, which would be a normal white Southern thing to do. White Southerners, their rights challenged, will react with vehemence and force. But for a black man to act as an equal in that way was just unthinkable.
He found humor in dealing with the Klan on the telephone. People would call with threatening calls. I remember one time he heard one of the Klansmen call his own wife's name, Stella, or something like that. Stella, be quiet, I'm trying to talk to this nigger, or something like that, you know. And so the next time he called, Rob said, how's sweet Stella doing? And the man said, what do you know about Stella? I'd soon kill Stella as to kill you.
When the motorcade would come through a black community, everybody would pull their blinds and lock up in the houses, and they were afraid. But instead, we came out, and our people would come out in line, stand along the street with their guns, you see.
You know, I think about this courageous guy who dared to deviate from the accepted norm, who dared to say, you know, we're not taking this. You're not just going to beat us up. You're not going to fire in our homes without us defending ourselves. And that really is the American norm.
I wouldn't go nowhere without one, so yeah, we had to have guns, because they had them. And that's the only way we repelled them, is because we outgunned them.
We had lots and lots of guns around the house all the time. Rifles, especially after we organized our rifle club, people would send us $26 donation to buy a rifle for the protection of our community.
One evening in October of 1958, there were two black boys and some white girls and boys playing in a vacant lot in Monroe. And on toward evening, a kissing game ensued. Someone kissed someone.
Well, nobody had seen it, but the girl just had made a casual remark to her mother that she had kissed Hanover. And then the mother got all excited and started scrubbing her face, and called her father, and he threatened to kill him, go kill him, and got his shotgun.
The police went looking for them too. They found the two little boys, arrested them, beat them, locked them in the basement of the jail for 6 days without being able to see their parents or talk to an attorney. Terrified them. It so happened that Halloween, it was October 28th, and then on Halloween the police officers put on sheets and came down into the basement of the jail where the children were being held, thinking it would be real funny to terrify them, because the children knew that the Klan was outside calling for their blood.
And they had to teach these boys early that they just couldn't expect